So, the time's finally come. Today, we unravel everything. I'll be counting on your support more than ever today, Mr. Subtle. Mr. Subtle? What's the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Nothing. I was just saying I'll be relying on your support today, but, I'm so sorry. Of course, I know I can be rather incompetent at times, but I shan't let you down. Would you mind helping me to my feet then? Oh dear, I really am sorry. Susato-san isn't her usual self at all. That's hardly surprising, I suppose. She's just found out that her father is the partner of a world-famous detective. Not to mention... Good morning, sir! Lord Von Ziegs! Haven't seen you in a while. Woo. Thank you for all your efforts yesterday. Did I hear that correctly? What? No, nothing! Just, I hope we can clear things up today. I really can't make this man out. His face says I hate you, but his words are almost jovial today. In fact, he hasn't been very Reaper-like at all since this all began yesterday. What this isn't the Reaper, Mr. Naruhodo? Good point. The Reaper. Suppose in hindsight, I shouldn't have allowed that misconception to go unchallenged. Huh? It was my tacit acceptance of the pseudonym. Failure to stop the Reaper becoming something more than a mere legend that led to all this. But you're not to blame for that, Lord Von Ziegs! It's only because serious crime in the capital dropped off so sharply when the public started calling you that. That's why you didn't say anything, isn't it? To be frank, I'm not sure that was the sole reason. What do you mean? There was a rumor at the time that the Reaper was really the ghost of my late brother. And having been slain by that evil killer, Clint's restless spirit returned as some sort of demigod to wield a deadly blade of justice where I, by dint of the law, could not. Yes, we've heard that story too. When I lost him, I felt as though I lost my guiding light. I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so, in some small way, I wonder if perhaps those rumors make me feel his absence a little less keenly. Even if I knew it was just an illusion. Just some nonsense conjured up by an over-imaginative public. It was obviously extremely important to you, Lord Clint Von Ziegs. Well, what's important now is uncovering the truth. It's all that matters. I know that you didn't take anyone's life. And I intend to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in court today. I never thought I'd say this. But I can see in your eyes burning desire to cut through all the lies and deception. I can't deny it any longer. You are a lawyer of absolute integrity. Thank you. Now tell me, why do I detect the scent of expensive tea leaves in the air? Iris! When did you get here? Oh! I brought you one of my special blends. Hurley loves it. He says it helps him to clear his head. I thank you. That's surely the first and last time I'll ever see a sight like this. No. You seem different today, Iris. Oh? Sort of subdued, I suppose. I am not! What happened yesterday is obviously still playing on her mind a lot. She's clearly very troubled about having stolen the autopsy report from Dr. Sith's laboratory. Alright then. Good luck to you both. I have to make a move now. You're not staying? I thought you'd want to watch today's proceedings. Well, I'd like to cheer you on, obviously. But I've got lots to get ready. Get ready? For what? Oh, yes. Would you take this? Isn't that one of the little felt dolls that's usually dangling from your knapsack? Yes, it's a Lucky Charm. A little Hurley that I made once. A Hurley? Looks more like a Hairley to me. If for some reason you completely run out of options in trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can. Pull his ears? That's right. It's a way to bring good luck. I think you might need it. He's always at our rescue, is he? We'll see about that. You think what we'll need is luck? I just need to peek inside the courtroom. It seemed very different to normal. Yes, it would seem that a certain someone has decided to pull out all the stops. What does that mean? What about Mr. Sharp's Iris? I don't know. I was out all night and had to come back home by the time I left this morning. I see. Was Professor Mikotobo out all night too, do you think, Mr. Sato? Yes, it would seem so. I telegrammed the hotel this morning. And apparently they didn't come back to their rooms last night at all. They? Father and Judge Jigoku, I mean. Judge Jigoku too? That's right. Nobody appears to have seen either of them since yesterday. Counsel for the defense and the defendant? Court is about to be in session. Please make your way inside the courtroom at once. Good luck then, Luna. Good luck, Susie. Yes. Thanks, Iris. You too, Mr. Reaper. I hope it goes well. Once again, I thank you for the delicious tea. It was very soothing. Oh, I'm so glad. You must go inside now, Lord Von Zieks. Lord Von Zieks has always been the formidable prosecutor I've had to lock horns with in court. But not today. Today, I battle with another in pursuit of the truth. My best friend, Kazuma Asogi, who I trust more than anyone else in the world. Now I understand what it was that drew me here to Britain all those months ago. Now I know exactly what destiny had in store for me. It's all been leading up to this one day, to this one trial, to this one final reckoning. It feels even more oppressive here than it did yesterday. Cold stares piercing me like knives from all sides today. Oh! Mr. Naruhodo, look! This is the most cursed trial. We've got Von Zeeks as the defendant, Asugi as the prosecution, and now Strongheart as the freaking judge. What the fuck is this? Dude. Kazuma must have known beforehand. The ramifications of this trial now extend far beyond the murder of one Scotland Yard inspector. In fact, events have come to light that threaten to rock the very foundations of our country's legal system. The escape of a condemned criminal on the night of his execution, the subsequent unlawful shooting of the man, and the revelation that prison staff must have been complicit in the jailbreak. Britain is currently hosting influential members of the judiciary from countries all around the world. It is imperative that we uncover the truth in these proceedings to avoid international embarrassment. By royal decree, this will continue to be a closed trial. And it's a closed trial, no jury, no summation examination, what? Anyway, this is cursed, I'm telling you! Oh my gosh. Anyway, sorry. Okay. Let's proceed. And one over which I, Mal Strongheart, exercise total and unequivocal authority. The sixth juror's flames just... As was the case in yesterday's proceedings, those here present in the public gallery are distinguished members of our judiciary, assembled to bear witness to a fair judicial process. In other words, a collection of your acolytes, Lord Strongheart. On a personal note, I find this most distressing, Lord Von Zeeks. You were a prosecutor of exceptional talent. Much like your brother Clint, in fact. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. For the trial of Baroque Von Zeeks, who officially stands accused of murder. Counsels for the prosecution and defense, are you in full readiness to proceed? The defense is ready, my lord! As is the prosecution. Yesterday's proceedings brought to light a shocking and disturbing fact. There was a side to the victim, Inspector Tobias Gregson, that was unknown to his superiors at Scotland Yard. Yes, he was carrying out operations in secret, which Scotland Yard knew nothing about. And in those clandestine operations, he had an accomplice, Mr. Daily Vigil, who would be given the inspector's identification and present himself around the capital in order to establish credible alibis for Gregson. In that way, Gregson appeared to be carrying out his regular Scotland Yard work when in fact, he wasn't. At the end of yesterday's session, Mr. Vigil, who had been suffering from amnesia, regained his memory. It would appear he buried his memories of the time deep inside himself as a means of self-preservation. Because whilst he was engaged as chief warder at Barclay Prison, he abetted the convicts' escape. Mr. Vigil is currently recuperating at St. Sinners. He's recovered enough to give a signed statement about his movements on the day prior to the incident. He's formally admitted to posing as Gregson whilst investigating the Red-Headed League. Which brings us to the crucial issue of the victim's time of death. The defense yesterday proposed the suggestion that the victim may have been killed a day earlier. This was based largely on the discovery that the victim's pocket watch had not been wound. The prosecution has something to report on that subject, my lord. Really? Go ahead, Prosecutor Sogi. I met once again with the coroner yesterday to discuss the issue. She confirmed that the defense's suggestion could not be ruled out. It's entirely possible that Inspector Gregson was killed on 31st of October, the day before his body was discovered. I have here an updated autopsy report that includes the amended details. Prosecutors. But the official opinion of the investigation team was made clear yesterday that the time of death was 5 p.m. on 1st November. There are indications of an attempt to disguise the real time of death, however. It seems that the natural decaying process of the victim's body may have been slowed by keeping it chilled. That's out of the question. There are no refrigeration devices in that part of London large enough to accommodate a human corpse. My lord! This is more than just conjecture. There's evidence to support the idea. We investigated it thoroughly. Very well. The court will accept the new report as evidence. However, if this updated report is deemed to be accurate, it would give renewed significance to the movements of the victim on the day before the Fresno Street incident. It would, yes. Especially since on that day, Inspector Gregson was using Mr. Vigil to cover up his real movements. It's conceivable that he was killed in the course of his secret activities. Do I sense that the prosecution has some information regarding those activities? Scotland Yard put an enormous effort into investigating that precise matter yesterday. I think we should begin by presenting the results of their investigation work. So the prosecution calls its first witness now. State your name and occupation for the court.
Inspector Gina Lestrade reporting. Representative of Scotland Yard.
Self-conferred rank, but never mind.
Gina, again. What's your problem, Otto? What's with that, Gina, again? Look, huh? The boss meant the world to me. He done more for me than anyone else ever did.
Oh, Inspector Gregson, you mean?
He got me out of the back slums of the East End and took me under his wing. Told me that life can have a purpose. So that's why I'm the best person to be standing here speaking for him.
Gino. Right. All out of the goodness of Gregson's heart. Not at all that he had his arm twisted by Mr. Sholmes. No. What's relevant to these proceedings is that the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations yesterday has revealed that the victim was carrying out some assignment the police knew nothing about. Very troubling. Her face, which Strongheart knew. So, Inspector Lestrade, let's hear exactly what it says in that report.
Coming right up, sir. All yard detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. A little search of the boss's office turns up a notebook that had a load of secret meetings in it. According to that, the boss was looking into some smuggled goods dealing that day. Looks like it was a big job and all. The coppers weren't onto it yet. What matters is, there's witnesses what saw the Reaper at the place too.
Smuggled goods?
No, do I? I'm just telling you what's written in the book.
Tobacco, tea, spices, medicines. Goods of all sorts flow into London by illegal channels from across the globe.
It's well known that they're disposed of at regular black markets that take place in the capital. But the police are rarely able to locate them in time. So Inspector Gregson was investigating one of those black markets. It's been suggested that high-ranking government officials may be involved in black market activity. No doubt Gregson was trying to avoid details of his investigations being leaked to the involved parties. That would explain why he was operating on his own authority, without the Yard's knowledge. Do we know where the dealings were taking place this time? In a particular room of a certain exclusive London gentlemen's club. And on the day in question, the accused is known to have been there. That's the conclusion of Scotland Yard's investigation into the matter. That can't be. We haven't heard anything about this. Members of the club have testified to it. There's no question. The accused, Baroque von Zieks, was present. That would be very significant testimony then.
Oh my, but Lord von Zieks has made no mention of this at all.
In short, Lord von Zieks had ample opportunity to murder the victim. Very well then. Counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination. Well, there was something I wanted to press, yes. Shoot. Lord von Zieks was at the club. He was. Detectives who visited the club yesterday to make inquiries have confirmed it. Several members report having seen the accused being admitted to the room in question as a guest. It looks like there's no disputing that he was there then. But we know that Lord von Zieks was investigating Inspector Gregson, don't we? Perhaps he'd already discovered the inspector's secret notebook, which led him to the club, you mean? Maybe. Presumably then, there are also eyewitnesses who can testify that Gregson was there. Silent, are we? None have been identified at this time, no. So the all-important victim wasn't seen at this mysterious club.
Oi! Why are you asking Inspector Lestrade here, eh?
So that's all I've got to work with. Gina's not holding back with that ice-cold stare of hers, is she?
I really don't know what to make of all this.
Lord von Zieks told us that he was investigating Inspector Gregson, but he never once mentioned that he met the inspector the day before the incident.
I don't think Lord von Zieks could have been lying to us, do you?
That's not the only way to explain this. If everything Lord von Zieks has told us is true, then there must be a mistake in this testimony somewhere.
There are details we've yet to uncover.
Exactly. A clue perhaps that even Gina hasn't noticed. That's what we should be looking for here. Alright. Suppose we'll try to uncover those clues. Oh. You follow orders, do you, Gina?
Nah, not me. I'm above all that, see? The boss always had special orders for me. Grab us some fish and chips or go and give Toby his grub. That kind of thing.
So, errands more than orders then. This detective is still an apprentice after all.
Oh. Yeah, well, this apprentice ain't one to sit around and wait to be told what to do, even by the boss. That's why I've been doing my own investigations into what happened. I didn't find much at first. Well, a little search of the boss's office turned up a notebook that had a lot of secret meetings in it.
So you went through Inspector Gregson's things?
Yep,
part of the independent Lestrade investigation.
I'm sure your superiors would be delighted that you're taking the initiative.
So I snuck into his office where no one else was about. Because if anyone at the yard had seen me going in there, they'd have turfed me straight onto the street.
This is sounding less and less like an investigation, more and more like something else. The prosecution understands that it was this very detective who discovered the notebook.
You got all right. Nothing gets past Inspector Lestrade and her trusty assistant, Inspector Chief Toby. We found it hidden in one of his desk drawers that had a false bottom.
Impressive.
So then I went to hide myself where no one could find me so I could have a butcher's at what was written in it. Because if anyone at the yard had found me out, they'd have turfed me straight onto the street. I've given it in now though, haven't I? And if it weren't for me, it would have never been found.
Whew. According to that. Really? Do you have any idea where those dealings were taking place?
Yep. It was all in the boss's notes. Let's see if I can remember.
As I already said, the illegal dealings were due to take place at a gentleman's club. Yes, I remember, but I was hoping to find out the name of the club. That won't be necessary.
What? Yeah, what?
It's conceivable that the club might be used again by the smugglers in the future. Therefore, the prosecution has been asked not to reveal the name in these proceedings. Oh.
I don't know what the fuss is about. It's right here. All I've got to do is read it out. And I could too. I've got this reading game buttoned up now. Can't I show you what I can do? Come on, what's the harm?
The judge hasn't signaled his objection yet. I could try to find out. What should I do? I'm gonna insist. I wanna know. This is a closed court. The proceedings are confidential. There shouldn't be any possibility of the information being leaked. As I explained, there is some possibility of politicians being involved in this affair. The prosecution is rightfully exercising caution, I imagine. No, my lord. The prosecution has no objection. Oh, all of a sudden. Cosmo? There's no question that Inspector Gregson was looking into these black market dealings. However, it's not yet been established that he was on that particular trail on the day in question. If the defense requires to know the club's name, the prosecution has no intention of being obstructive. Thank you! Okay, the prosecution and defense working together.
I get to show off my reading skills.
Yeah, everybody wins.
Right, apparently the smuggled goods deal is gonna happen at a gentleman's club called the Grouse.
Hold it!
The Grouse? What sort of club is that?
I ain't got the foggiest. Clubs ain't exactly my thing. But I am kinda curious.
They're not places where a foreign student like you would be readily admitted.
Have you looked in the mirror recently?
Hello?
I'll tell you what. Me and Chief Inspector Toby could go in undercover.
Could you though?
I could pick out a few good marks and see what else I could find out while I was in there.
I really don't think you should go picking out anything. Anyway, that's where these black market dealings were going to take place, is it?
Yeah, it's gotta be. It's what the lower ranking detectives at the yard reckon.
It's just an even lower ranking detective.
Looks like it was a big job and all, but the coppers weren't onto it yet.
Now, the grouse. Did it specifically say the club? Or could it be something else? Well, let me make sure I updated this. Because this was a problem the last time. Okay, good. Steamship. Okay, it doesn't say what steamship, but hopefully it's updated.
Objection.
Thank you. Okay, good. We are not going to start on the wrong foot this time. I've read about these clubs that exist here in Britain. As I understand it, they're places where well-to-do gentlemen socialise with friends and colleagues. Don't imagine for a second that a foreign student like you would be admitted. Seriously, is your mirror cracked or something? Do we know for sure that the contraband dealings were definitely happening at a club called The Grouse? The police are currently looking for evidence, but haven't found anything definitive yet. I'm sorry to say that they probably won't. What do you mean by that? Hold on, I want to double check his passport. Does it give a destination? I mean, it does have a destination, but like, how he was traveling? No, it doesn't. I mean that the place Inspector Gregson was secretly going to visit on 31st of October may not have been a gentleman's club at all. You're showing a very irreverent attitude towards our country's police force there, Counsel. If it wasn't a gentleman's club, then what was it? A steamship. You think it's a ship? I have the evidence to prove it here. Let me see that. This dark-suited young man is not in the least bit untrustworthy. The other side, my lord. Be more specific next time. It's been 10 cases now. 9. It's been... Ah, this would appear to be a ticket for passage upon a steamship, yes. The SS Grouse.
Objection.
So there's a steamship named the Grouse that happens to share a name with the club. But I'm afraid to say, there's a flaw in your logic there. How? Look at the ticket. Notice the date of arrival in port. The ship arrived at the port of Dover on 1st November. Ah! The day on which the sound like a gunshot was heard on Fresno Street. This is someone else's ticket. We're just throwing possibilities. In other words, on the day in question here, 31st October, when the victim was on his clandestine mission, that ship hadn't yet docked on British shores. That would certainly make an undercover investigation somewhat challenging. The fact that the steamship hadn't yet reached Britain substantiates the defense's assertion that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the day in question. Then show your evidence! Very well. Oh, the unicorn gavel, what the heck? In that case, counsel for the defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim was... Yes, sir, here it is. Take that. What's this? A passport for travel issued to the victim. Dated 31st October. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that just one day before the inspector's body was discovered, there's a distinct possibility he wasn't even in the country. Order! This document is for passage to France. It does appear to have been officially authorized.
The day before the SS Grouse arrived at Dover. It docked on the northern coast of France for a night. According to my father, who was on board at the port of Dunkirk. Dunkirk, France. What could possibly have taken the victim there? I'm impressed, you Nosuke Naruhodo. Certainly didn't expect you to get your hands on that passport. What? You mean you knew about this? Did you? The prosecution strategy for this trial has been laid down by the Crown Prosecution Office. On the day before the incident, the victim was investigating contraband dealings at a London club. That's the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations and the line the prosecution has been asked to follow. But personally, I don't agree. I think the prosecutor's office is trying to hide something. What? And now that you've expertly disproven their assertion, I intend to reveal what I believe that something to be. What are you playing at, Prosecutor Sogi? A courtroom is a forum for the truth, my lord. Which is why it is my duty to present all the facts, without exception. Let me guess. This was your intention from the outset, was it? The reason Inspector Gregson secretly made his way to the steamship docked in France on the day in question was to carry out a mission for the Reaper. The Reaper? Order! What on earth are you saying, counsel? The prosecution made an assertion in court yesterday. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. But that's not his hideout, though. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. But in reality, the truth is the opposite of that. What? Inspector Gregson wasn't investigating the Reaper at all. He was in fact acting for the Reaper. So, you're saying the mission he was undertaking was obviously an assassination. Baroque von Zieks never carried out any of the actual killings. Whenever the Reaper's victims lost their lives, he always had a cast iron alibi. Which tells us that he must have had an accomplice. And you claim that it was Inspector Gregson. What the hell are you saying, eh? My boss would never have done nothing like that. And yet, when you consider all the facts, it all makes perfect sense. No, it can't be! We also arrived at the same conclusion, didn't we? That Inspector Gregson was operating as the Reaper. Even so, there's no way that the person giving him his orders was Lord von Zieks! No, the true Reaper is somebody else. Baroque von Zieks is not the Reaper! A predictable response from someone who's advocating for the man. And even if it's true that Gregson was operating as an agent for the Reaper, the suggestion that he went aboard the SS Grouse on an assassination mission doesn't follow at all. Did we not just establish he was at a club? Von Zieks was at a club? Like, they were clearly not in the same place. You had some solid reason for doubting the assertion, do you, counsel? Absolutely. It's very simple. On the day in question, nobody was killed aboard that steamship. Professor Mikotobo and Judge Jigoku were on that very ship. If someone had been assassinated, I'm sure we would have heard about it.
What's so funny? You're right, of course. No suspicious deaths were reported on board the ship. But I think perhaps you've missed the point. That's precisely why Inspector Gregson himself lost his life!
What?
Gregson did aboard the SS Grouse that night with the intention of dispatching his mark. But his mission ended in failure.
Failure?
It seems that the defense hasn't yet grasped a very important detail here. What are you talking about?
What detail?
Inspector Gina Lestrade!
What?
The victim's notebook that you read an excerpt from earlier. That doesn't contain details of secret investigations at all. It describes 10 years of assassination plots to be carried out by the Reaper of the Bailey.
You're lying! Even if all the bludgers were taken out, had it come in? The boss weren't the Reaper? Gina.
There's no question that Tobias Gregson was heavily involved in the Reaper's activities. You may just be an apprentice, but if you spent any time at Scotland Yard, you must have heard the rumours.
I know nothing, and I don't believe a word of it!
And testify again, as a representative of Scotland Yard. Consider it your chance to defend your boss.
I don't...
I concur. The witness will give a new formal testimony. Miss Lestrade, you will tell the court everything you know about Inspector Gregson's secret notebook.
Yeah, this notebook does have a lot of stuff about what the Reaper got up to these past 10 years. Names of victims, dates and places and stuff. The last entry in here was 31st October. It said grouse for the place on that date, and then the name on the mark. There was a note about him being a criminal what got away from the Reaper in court 10 years ago or something. But honest, the boss didn't do none of it. It was just investigating the Reaper, that's all.
Keep personal opinion out of your testimony, witness. We require only established fact here.
This must be so hard for her.
You can't deny it now, surely. Yunosuke Naruhodo. What can't I deny? The notebook contained the name of the final mark and the location where the assassination would take place. That's information that the victim could have only known if he was working with the Reaper. So, who was to be this final mark? Go ahead, Inspector Lestrade. Read the name for the court. The name that's written alongside the entry that mentions the grouse on 31st of October.
How'd you read this then?
Reading's still not his strong suit.
That ain't the problem, alright, Otto? It's a funny name. It ain't English. It's hard to read.
So it's someone from overseas.
Let me have a bash at it. Se... Ish... Iro... Is it? Yeah... Seishiro... Jig... Q maybe?
It can't be. Seishiro Jigoku?
That's Judge Jigoku!
Seishiro Jigoku. Certainly not an English name, you're right.
Objection.
That can't be right! I know Judge Shigoku, and I saw him the day before yesterday, here in London. So I know for the fact that the man hasn't been assassinated.
As I said, the Reaper failed! Gregson missed his chance to kill his mark and return to British shores. But the Reaper wouldn't tolerate the mistake, so he killed the Inspector. Personally. The Reaper, of course, being the accused, Barack von Zeeks. It's an undeniably logical argument. Cosmo, you played for the trial to go this way all along, didn't you?
Hold it!
You! Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice whilst I stand accused of murder. What Fonsees? The accused has no right to speak uninvited in court. You will return to the dock. I say nothing of whether or not I'm the Reaper. That's the task of this court to decide. But there is one thing I can say unequivocally. That girl was no detective.
Hey, what? No, that's why I ain't. I'm an inspector.
Repeating rumours heard around the yard. Reading entries from a notebook of unconfirmed origin. That's not testimony. It's practically a script. No doubt the rest of this trial will go exactly as you've clearly planned. Your hatred of me is understandable. In your mind, I'm sure I am the Reaper, who sent your fathers to the gallows all those years ago. But you're in danger of becoming a far more sinister Reaper yourself, by attempting to have me condemned with this feeble excuse for testimony. What did you say?
Mr. Naruhodo, this is our chance!
Wait, what are we doing? My lord, the defense requests that the defendant be allowed to speak.
He may be privy to important information regarding the testimony just given by the witness.
Woo! Very well. I'll make an exception and grant the request. The defendant may remain in the witness stand for the cross-examination. Then allow me to toast the court's impartiality. Don't raise your glass in my direction, sir. Counsel for the defense, begin the cross-examination immediately. At once, my lord. Alright, let's go. Alright, so this notebook does have a load of stuff about what the Reaper got into. Oh wait, do we have any evidence? Oh, let me check, sorry. This. Later. Autopsy report, Coroner John H. Wilson, Clint Von Zeeks, 33, yada yada yada. Okay. Death from a stab wound to the heart. Other superficial external wounds indicative of a duel. Red scarlet ink stains visible on the little and ring fingers of the right hand. Little and ring fingers. But no document in corresponding ink was found. Ink, not blood. Interesting word choice. Vital evidence recovered from the victim's stomach during autopsy. Credit to Inspector Gregson for petitioning so doggedly for the autopsy procedure. Oh right, because we got over it. It's been rather cynical. No internal trauma noted anywhere in the body.
Interesting. And yet there was evidence in the victim's... What was it, I wonder? Alright, anyway, names of victims. It said grouse. There's no... Interesting. It was just investigating the Reaper. Alright, we're pressing.
Hold it!
In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper. Well, you and all! That ain't the only explanation, is it? He could have been investigating the Reaper in secret, and that notebook said what he found out. If I may. When originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believe the power to intimidate London's criminal classes into compliance with the law to be beneficial. You carried out your own investigations into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you? Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper. One arm? What are you on about? The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. There's simply no way one person could have taken them on alone. The Reaper is an organization, with you at its head. I had spies at the yard keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know where he was elsewhere. So I've been able to check the most recent entry in this book. I knew the location. You knew it said grouse? Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate. Alone. Oh, so that explains why several members of the club claim to have seen you there. But of course, the inspector was not there. Because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the north coast of France. As shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. That's oddly specific. Very well then, back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook. Fine. Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? You seem a little shocked by something a moment ago. No, it's alright. I'm overthinking this, aren't I? Names of victims, dates, places, and stuff. What in particular? Well, besides the victims' names, this other name kept cropping up. What other name was that? It's the one I told you yesterday. Same name, written over and over again. You mean Asashin? Yeah, that's the one. She's a friend of yours or something, is she? You were listening yesterday? Asashin. The assassin. Yes. What an unfortunate name. Like a killer, you mean? Gregson was the tactician. The one who came up with the plan of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out where they would be vulnerable and who to use to get at them. But the person actually executing his plans was someone else, you're saying? If that's true, then the Reaper does indeed sound like an organized group of vigilantes. Then perhaps what it said on the passport document. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could that additional person have been clearly the assassin who was meant to take Seishiro Jigoku's life? Gino, can you confirm that? Against the final entry that listed Grouse and Seishiro Jigoku. What name was written? Oh, well, that's the only entry that didn't have a name next to it, as it happens. What? It just had a question mark or something like that, I think.
In other words, Gregson himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case. What? Gregson was the one making the plans, was he not?
How infuriating!
A nameless assassin.
Said grouse for the place on that date, and then the name of the mark.
And you're saying that the mark listed was Seishiro Jigoku?
That's what I said. Funny name if you ask me. And I thought your name was odd.
So pleased to have lost my crown there. Mr. Jigoku is the presiding judge of Japan's Supreme Court of Judicature. I remember the man. He came to our country as a visiting student 16 years ago, studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart. That bearded young fellow was a very able man, I must say. So Lord Strongheart was Judge Jigoku's mentor. If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now. 10 years ago? After that fateful case. Precisely. In the aftermath of the Professor case, his repatriation was organized immediately. It's a mystery why such a man would be listed in the inspector's notebook.
Well, I didn't think it was possible, but the mood in here's got even worse now. Maybe I'll just keep talking. There was a note about him being a criminal what got away.
For breaking the witness stand? What do you mean a criminal? Judge Jigoku's not a criminal.
Well, don't ask me. I know nothing about it.
Do you remember what Father told us?
Judge Jigoku didn't want to be in court here in Britain. It was related to the Professor case, I'm sure.
Yes, of course, you're right. Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and actually managed to break the witness stand. He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. Bit heavy-handed there. It was a pitiful situation, yes. I'd forgotten all about it, but I prosecuted that trial too, as it happens. You did? We know this. It was considered to be adjunct to the Professor proceedings, you see. Oh, right. Sorry, we're talking about it. Yeah. Sorry. Yep. But he was acquitted after being told to make reparation for the damage caused to the stand. And there you have it. Have what? Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule. That there's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court, guilty or innocent alike. No! Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Jigoku was targeted for assassination? The man was sent back to Japan immediately after that trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you start to see just how vindictive the Reaper is. Come on, that's absurd! To take someone's life for that! Isn't the whole premise of the Reaper absurd? Killing those who have been found innocent? Clearly the rules by which the man operates are beyond a sane person's comprehension.
Right, I've had just about enough of this.
Gino?
All this nonsense about the boss planning to kill people. It's cobblers. Come on, Otto.
Yes?
Why did you say nothing? Why are you yelling out objection or something?
What?
You've got to find a flaw. You do usually. Someone's lying here, no question. You gotta work out who it is. Please, for the boss.
That outburst was an insult to the court and your own testimony. You might have known that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make a detective. When this trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear?
I've had it with a lot of you. It's lies every plain place you look in this world, isn't it? I've had enough.
Gina? So have I. After that little speech of Gina's, I've made up my mind. To do what, Mr. Naruhodo? There was one point in this cross-examination when something that was said didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd. Do you mean? I'm not going to let Gina's plea for help fall on deaf ears.
Come on, Otto. Help. You gotta find a flaw somewhere.
Hold it!
Shit, how do we present it? I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find my resolve. What do you mean? Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there is one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency. What? An inconsistency!
Really, Otto?
I don't quite know what it means yet, but... yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by... he's not here. It's someone in the courtroom. We're helping her. They're not here. He's dead. Yeah, they're not here either. Just making sure we've got everyone. We did react after he said something. Care to explain?
Take that!
By you, Cosmo Sorgi. Me. Is this some attempt at filibustering, counsel? Prosecutor Sogi has given no testimony. Oh, he can still talk. What are you suggesting I said that was inconsistent? You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I present the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you'll realize what you've done. Very well then, counsel. Go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in something Prosecutor Sogi has said?
Take that!
This is a trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson. A metal construction, is it? Certainly very heavy. What's this? A bloodstain! And a relatively fresh one too!
What? You mean that ain't grease from all the boss's fish and chips?
Gino. Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. That suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed. That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in Scotland Yard's report. Ah, yes. There's a reason for that. Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it.
Oh, I found it! Me! Me with the nose for trouble.
Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. Oh, shit. And yet, during the cross-examination of the witness just now, you said this, Cosmo. Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the north coast of France. As shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. Hey, we can finally ask about that bottle of carbonated water. Anyway, sorry. Just suddenly remembered. As shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. But why do you know that? So, the question is, how did you know? We know the man went on a trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport? In the pocket.
Objection.
You were awfully specific. But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Cosmo. 31st October? Where exactly were you? You were missing for a while, weren't you? At the port of Dunkirk on board the SS Grouse. Is that the answer you're looking for, Yunosuke? Cosmo! What did you... I hadn't considered the possibility before, but... Cosmo was there on the ship, then... It only have been for one purpose. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo! Surely you don't think... Come on, Yunosuke, you know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence. As I understand it, Inspector Gregson always took that case with him when he travelled. So as it stands, you've proved nothing. Cosmo, are you challenging me to prove it beyond all reasonable doubt? That you were there on the day in the same place as the inspector? He was there with Gregson. There's a clue that you've overlooked. A secret that trunk can tell us. I can't be sure at this point. I need to verify it. Oh, I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right. The accusation being made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless, we must test it. The defense will identify for the court where in the trunk this alleged clue is to be found. Where is the evidence? Let's use Sholmes' method of deduction, even though we've read this text already, so we're gonna skip this text.
Got it.
Is this your proof? What do you say? What? I think tying the defense counsels to the inspector's trunk and tossing it into the sea. What the fuck? Wait, hold on, what? At least that way, London's courtrooms will be safe from his destructive accusations. I believe that was a rather long-winded way of telling you that you... What? How do you explain the freaking... What? What the freak? What? I was hoping never to let that happen, funnily enough. What? Jeez! Hold on! Hello? Hold on, wait! Shoot. Hold on, give me a moment. Wait, what? How precise do I need to be? Shit. The freaking... The thingo! Gee, you wonder because of this!
Okay, finally, Jesus. I'm sorry.
Got it.
Very precise hitbox. Very precise. Oh my god. To be fair, I should have read it, but oh. There's a small piece of metal lodged in the wall of the trunk key. Like the tip of a blade. A blade! Cosmo, slung around your waist as ever today, is the esteemed blade Kadama. Of course it is. And we're just not going to acknowledge the other one. Alright. Won't you draw it here in this courtroom for all to see? Exercise caution, my learned friend. Who are you directing this to? That man is the son of London's most notorious killer. Bailiff! Watch prosecutor Sogi like a hawk! That won't be necessary. Oh! Oh no! The tip is broken. If the fragment of metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed, Cosmo Sogi? Expertly done, Yunosuke. That's a point to you. And well deserved. Can you recover my penalty now? That was not what I meant to say. Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Sogi? Yes. On 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. Oh, well, we're finally gonna find out. So the additional person, the +1, was me. You were the... And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. What? You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from the notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Tagoku? Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I have killed no one. Explain. I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk. But I never had any intention of carrying out the plan. You were never going to do it. I can believe Kazuma-sama. I'm sure. After all, Judge Tagoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded a train from London with Inspector Gregson. We travelled to Dover, from where we'd crossed the channel to Dunkirk. Then we boarded the SS Grouse and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Tagoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there though. We decided to wait, but you've already told us you had no intention of going through with it anyway. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. Why'd you follow him in the first place? I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. Boarding house? In Dunkirk? My signature will be on the register book. It will be simple enough to verify. So what became of Jigoku? Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in their room on Fresno Street to report the failure.
causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection.
But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk? I don't need to answer that. Gunshot, is that what he's saying? The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade is irrelevant to the case, and accordingly, I chose to exercise my right to silence on that matter. Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence. As you wish, my lord. I swear the headband was not on it. But we must take immediate action now to verify whether Seishiro Jigoku remains unharmed. What? Remains unharmed? I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday. How did you... When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety should arise. You don't mean to say... You think just Jigoku had been killed? The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal, and he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Oh shit, Von Zieks did have power to get case notes. Isn't that right, Lord Von Zieks? If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you. Order in the court! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now? Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst. No, not Judge Jigoku! No one will want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only just arrived in the country. Except, that is, for the Reaper wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago. I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake. My lord? I sincerely hope we are successful. If we're unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, we will face grave difficulties. Court is adjourned for 30 minutes.